Howdy, Legendary Void here, and today I have a classic Wave 1 deck for you all. I finally got my copy of Dinobot Grimlock, and I've been looking forward to building a Dinobot deck for a very long time. So here it is. Let's go ahead and get into the characters. The first one is, of course, Grimlock. When you flip to him in alt mode, he gives one of your Dinobots Bolt 3, which is fantastic in and of itself. It's basically a built-in supercharge when you flip, so of course we're going to be running some ways to abuse that, but he's a 4/12/2. But we're mainly going to be focusing on his bot mode, which is a 6/12/2. And when it does more than enough damage to KO an enemy, it gives the steamroll treatment, in which if you do more than enough damage to KO them, that extra damage gets moved over to another Transformer of your opponent's choice. For example, if you're attacking a, let's say, dead end with 1 health left, and he defends for 3, you attack him for 5, he'll take 1 damage to kill, and then another 1 of the damages will go over to another character for your opponent's choice. But yeah, Grimlock has such a very powerful ability, so we're going to be trying to abuse that as much as possible with a deck like this. Another one of our characters is Dinobot Snarl. He's a 5/9/2 in bot mode, and when this attacks, you can put a card from your hand on top of your deck. Essentially, he's got a built-in plan for whenever he attacks. He lets you get rid of the annoying double oranges from your hand, and then also when you flip to him in alt mode, and you have no cards in hand, he lets you draw 2 cards. This is to help recover from things like Dino Jump, which makes you scrap your entire hand, or even if you're playing against something like Shockwave, in which you need more cards in hand to play. So he's a very good card, and he's definitely solid for Dinobots. And then, of course, we have the staple of Dinobot Sludge, who is a Dinobot specialist. And when you flip to his alt mode, he lets you move any number of damage counters over to from your other Dinobots over to him, which is definitely very useful for keeping them alive. And of course, we're playing a couple of ways to bring him back from the KO area, so you can essentially free heal everybody and have him just die off again. But he, in his bot mode, is a 5/12/2, and then when one of your Dinobots attacks, repair 1 damage to it. So he's essentially the healer for these guys. So if they're taking a couple of hits at a time, especially against blue decks, Sludge will definitely be able to help heal off all that damage. So there's the team. Let's go ahead and get into the battle cards. We're playing 3 copies of Peace Through Tyranny, mainly for the double oranges. I've never actually found a situation where you actually need to play it for its effect, but you definitely can if the situation is correct. We also have 2 copies of I Still Function, which essentially is literally only to bring back Sludge and heal off Grimlock and Snarl. But you definitely can use it to bring back Grimlock for massive hits if he gets KO'd pretty early. But it's a really nice card. We're only playing 2 since it is a non-pip, so it kind of hurts in that regard. But we're also playing 3 copies of Dino Trump, which has Scrap Your Hand, and one of your Dinobots gets Bold 5, which is absolutely massive. Bold 5 is incredible, but you do have the Scrap Your Hand, which is where Dinobot Snarl comes in handy, and things like Work Overtime can be useful. It is a blue pip, but we are running 3 because of how great Bold 5 is. We're also playing Supercharge, which is Bold 3. It's not quite as great as Dino Chomp, but it definitely is there, and it is an orange pip. So if you can play Supercharge or Dino Chomp, they're both great. One may be better than the other, but you know, as long as you consistently get bold on your guys, you might as well play 3 of each. And here's Work Overtime, which lets you get up to 4 cards in hand if you have less. This is to help recover from things like Dino Chomp if you can top deck it and you don't have Snarl to flip. We are playing 2 of those because we don't need too much white in this deck, but it is definitely useful for recovering from Dino Jumps. We also have 2 copies of Press the Advantage. It is a orange-green, which is a classic staple in Autobot decks to help counter Decepticons. It gives one of your Autobots +2 attack and lowers your opponent's defense on a Decepticon by 2. It's a great card, and definitely needs to be run at least 2 of. And it is green pip, so you can bring it back to your hand for whenever you need to. We also play 3 copies of Ramming Speed, which says Scrap an Enemy Upgrade, plus it has Grimlock on it, so it's only fitting. This is great for getting rid of your opponent's armors that are blocking you from dealing more than enough damage, like Force Fields. Pretty classic card. There's not really too much to talk about there. But we also play 2 copies of Treasure Hunt, which says scrap the top 4 cards of your deck and grab all upgrades, scrap this way, and put them in your hand. This is great for grabbing grenade launchers or even power punches, even like force fields of your own to help defend against your opponent. But Treasure Hunt's a great card. We are only playing 2 of them though. And we do play 1 copy of Escape Route. Escape Route's mainly going to be used on Grimlock for giving one of your other characters Bold 3. but he can in fact give himself Bolt 3, and then if you play Escape Route, you can just flip right back to this mode, and now he has Bolt 3 plus whatever Jaws of Steel or even Dino Chomps you have, which can give him up to like Bolt 11, I believe, is the highest I've ever seen on it. But yeah, it gets pretty crazy sometimes. One copy of Escape Route seems perfectly fine to me. But yeah, that is all of our actions. The first weapon that we're playing is 2 copies of Power Punch. This gives Bolt 3 to one of your characters and it's scrapped at the end of the turn. I've kind of grown a little bit closer to this card over time because it does give you Bolt 3 and it also gets scrapped, and that definitely helps get around things like ramming speed and leaves dead cards in your opponent's hand that they can't play, like Enforcement Batons. And even if they do play them, then you can like get around by playing something like Enforcement Batons of your own, and then they've just wasted that card. But it's very good. It's very good. Bolt 3 is great. Even being scrapped is just fine. And then another card that gets scrapped, we are playing 3 copies of Grenade Launcher, which is +4 attack, which is absolutely insane in a deck like this. You play it on Grimlock. I'll probably just throw him across the field. You play it on Grimlock, he's got base 10 plus whatever bold you have on him, and he's just one-shotting and doing his steamroll effect on literally everyone. Combiners just don't stand a chance. It's actually pretty freaking hilarious. But yeah, Grenade Launcher is a great card for Dinobots. And the last weapon we're playing is 1 copy of Enforcement Batons. This is to help get rid of your opponent's weapons that are dealing crap ton of damage to you, or even just to get around something like a Battle Master. In case you do have to kill one, Enforcement Batons gets rid of it for you. And that's all of the weapons. Our first armor is 3 copies of Force Field, which prevents you from taking more than 4 damage from one attack, and then it's scrapped. Very great card. It is a white pip, so it helps you flip more during your attacks. It's definitely useful for keeping your guys alive, since the Dinobots don't exactly have the most health in the world. So Force Field is a great card. We're also playing 2 copies of Electrified Spikes, which is a Dinobot-specific armor, saying that once you put on a Dinobot and they defend and flip at least 2 orange, you deal 1 damage to the attacker. Plus, it already gives them a +1 defense, which is great, and it is an orange pip, so it works pretty well with this deck. And the 1 damage to your opponent can be very crucial for dealing an extra damage on a Grimlock swing, and then moving over extra damage over. So Electrified Spikes is definitely a very great card. We're also playing 3 copies of Improvised Shield, definitely for the double oranges, but you definitely can play it for the tough one, because there's a couple of blues in this deck, being Dino Chomps and some other sideboard blue cards. But Improvised Shield mainly there for the double orange, because double orange is great. And the last armor is 2 copies of Bashing Shield, which lets you get rid of your opponent's armors, say other Bashing Shields or Force Fields and the like. Very great card, gets rid of Sparring Gears. It is a green pip, so it helps you bring it back to your hand. Very, very good for offensive decks. And we only play 1 utility, which is 3 copies of Jaws of Steel. Put on Dinobots only and gives him Bolt 2. Just the fact that a utility gives Bolt 2 to someone, it's just fantastic. It makes Dinobots so much better. And it has an orange pip, which helps towards the main gist of the deck. Bolt 2, fantastic. It's a utility, so it doesn't take up your Grenade Launcher spot. But yeah, very great card. And for our sideboard, we are playing 1 copy of Dinobot Swoop as our sideboard character. He's mainly going to be used if you're fighting a very heavy blue deck, and your opponent has low amounts of Pierce. For example, some kind of tanks deck, where they're dealing low amounts of damage through direct damage, like through Dark Mount and the like. But you definitely can play Swoop, because they let you move the damage back off of him onto your opponent. And he also is a specialist, so we can abuse that with cards like Sludge, since they are... Sludge. Yep, there he is. Sludge, since they are both specialists, and you can play Field Communicators, which is the first one we're going to go over. We have 3 copies of them sideboarded. So if you do decide to play Swoop, you can definitely run the 3 copies of Field Communicator to spam cards off the top of your deck. And it does give them the +1 attack. The only problem is it does take the spot of a Jaws of Steel, but it definitely is very good. It's a very good card. And if you do decide to put in Swoop over Snarl, then you do get the choice of 1 star card, which we have a Mounted Missiles for. It's a double orange, definitely a very, very powerful card. And it can go in the armor or utility slot, so just wherever you need it. If you ever decide to play it, it gives +2 attack. Very, very great card. And then we have 2 copies of Erratic Lightning. Again, if you decide to put in Swoop, he'll have 0 attack in his bot mode. And if you put the Erratic Lightning on him, that's a base 8 attack, basically giving him the Scrapnel treatment. But it's a very great card. You can even play it on Grimlock if you choose, or Sludge, or whoever you really need it to. But it's mainly there if you want to put in Swoop. We also play 2 copies of Dampening Field. If you're ever coming across a Lionizer deck and you feel the need to keep your guys a little bit alive a little bit longer, you can run the 2 copies of Dampening Field to prevent your opponent from flipping like Bold 7 or whatever the heck freaking Lionizer has. It's frustrating, you know. And then if you ever do decide to make your deck a little bit more defensive, since you know you can take hits from little combiner pieces like, I don't know, if you're playing against Devastator, you definitely can play 2 copies of Leap into Battle to help defend against their little chips that they're dealing before they combine. Plus it does give you +3 attack, which is fantastic on Grimlock. Very, very good cards. But yeah, that's the entire sideboard. And yeah, that's the deck. I absolutely love playing Dinobots. I've been trying to get my hands on a Grimlock for a very long time, and it finally came in the mail. Shoutouts to the guy who I bought it from. But it's a very great card. I am super hyped about playing this in the future. Hopefully it'll see more play as the game continues to evolve and Dinobot gets more support. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, don't forget to whack that like and subscribe button. Ring that bell because that's a thing you can do. Like, comment, subscribe, share on MySpace, Facebook, Twitter. MySpace, yes, MySpace. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching and have a phenomenal day. Peace.